Let's talk about the Bush legacy and its impact on the election as well. You've been a great defender of President Bush, largely on war terror issues. What do you think his legacy will be, and how did it impact the electorate in this election?
Well, I think President Bush has been demonized and pilloried in a way that no other American president ever has, at least not in my memory. And some of it is enormously unfair. And in fact, the exaggerated version of it, even if you grant there are things that he did wrong, they've been exaggerated to such an extent that it's way beyond any kind of reality. I think the thing that will happen for President Bush, because it's been driven to such levels of unreality and demonization, I think President Bush is going to be viewed more favorably by history. And I think he'll be viewed more favorably by history because as you get further and further away from a presidency, really it's only 1, 2, or 3 big issues that then emerge. You know, you think of Truman. Truman was a very unpopular president who could not run for re-election, who was driven out by his own party. Truman emerged 8, 10, 12 years later as a really good president because nobody looked at the small issues in his presidency. They looked at the Marshall Plan. They looked at the Berlin airlift. They looked at his having set up a way of containing communism that was then continued by Eisenhower and Kennedy and Johnson and Nixon and finally resolved by Ronald Reagan. I think that's going to happen with terrorism. I think President Bush will be seen as having taken a very courageous and correct position against terrorism in taking a country that was in a state of shock over the attack of September 11, moving us around very quickly to going on offense, and in so doing, preventing what were at the time predictable terrorist acts, and then setting us on a right course, even though there were missteps. Just like in the Cold War, there were missteps. Truman made missteps, Eisenhower made missteps, Kennedy made missteps, Johnson did. You know, Nixon got us out of the Vietnam War, but there used to be a lot of criticism that he didn't get us out fast enough. So there were a lot of missteps in the Cold War, but the essential thrust of it was correct, and I think that's going to be seen here with terrorism. President Bush will be seen as the first president who really recognized the full implications of Islamic terrorism.